So Enchanted was such a brilliant and fantastical movie, and the concept surprisingly hadn't really been done before, but it just worked so well in this film. What is up everybody, welcome back to my channel Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video we are going to be reviewing Enchanted. I have to say, I really enjoyed this movie. I mean, it feels very Disney, but in the best way possible, as it not only pays homage to classic Disney animation, but it also isn't afraid to make fun of it in a bit of a satire way, and it just works so brilliantly. And I feel like it translates from animation into live action so well, as the actors just make it so believable, and they're just not afraid to make fun of themselves, to make it a bit of a mock satire, and you can just tell that they're all just having so much fun behind the scenes, and like I said, it just translates on the big screen so brilliantly. And I have to say, it's easily one of the best fish out of water type storylines in a long time, and since this movie has been released, so many other films and TV shows have tried to adapt that type of storyline, but this film just really does show how you do it properly, and I cannot wait to break it down with you in this movie review. So the premise of this movie feels very Disney. So there's an evil queen who wants to protect her claim to the throne, and so wants to prevent her son, who is a prince, from marrying Gazelle, who is a princess, and then does something really, really evil, which is to push Gazelle from the magical animated world into our world. And the film then explores whether or not Gazelle will be able to assimilate into this world, if other animated characters are going to also enter into our world, and if she and the others will ever be able to return to the magical world of Andalasia. Now, from a positive point of view, like I said, this movie totally has got the Disney magic, but it just does a wicked spin on it in terms of just making fun of itself, and it just works so brilliantly. I feel like Disney just weren't afraid to really push it and to really understand what the recognizable features are, and then just, like I said, totally flip that on its head and just does such a good job in making fun of itself. And it was actually really believable. I have to give credit to all of the actors, as they really did feel like they translated and were lifted from animation and were just plucked into our world, as the actors just did a really good job in playing themselves as a bit of a cartoon character, yet being in the real world as well. And I especially loved all of the fantastical aspects from a Disney animation being translated into live action. I do feel like they definitely could have pushed those aspects for sure, but it was still a really charming film, a really endearing film, and you're actually really gripped to the narrative, as it is so interesting, and it has got this bit of evilness happening in the background as well, which was just so good and really did feel like a bit of a fairy tale gone wrong. And on that point, like I said right in the beginning, I feel like it honors the Disney past really, really well, whilst also making fun of it in a really successful way as well. However, from a negative point of view, I do feel like some of the secondary characters in this movie were really, really interesting and had the potential to be really, really great, and I just wish they would have pushed their storylines a little bit more instead of really making them feel like they were secondary characters. I also feel like they could have definitely done a little bit more with Nathaniel just constantly chasing Gazelle and preventing the Prince Edward character from ever seeing her. He was doing a good job in terms of doing that prevention, but I feel like he definitely could have added a lot more danger. I know he was with the Red Apple, but like I said, he definitely could have done a lot more with it, and they definitely should have and could have made the final act of this movie feel so much better, as it was really going on a brilliant upward trajectory across the first two acts of this movie, but then it kind of plateaued in the final act and somewhat went down a little bit, especially with all of the evil queen stuff. And like I said, they could have made that so much more epic, and they absolutely could have had a lot more fish out of water type storylines. But that being said, all of my criticism is just doing more of all of the brilliant stuff that they already had in this movie, and so from a storyline point of view, I have to say Enchanted is really successful. So from a cast and characters point of view, they all do such a good job from a voice acting point of view, as well as from a live action depiction point of view as well. So let's go through them one by one. So first up we have Amy Adams as Princess Gazelle, and it really does feel like her movie, and she just epitomizes the classic Disney princess attribute so well, and so she really does translate, like I keep saying, from animation into live action so well, as she just depicts what a Disney animated princess would be like. And I was a little bit apprehensive going into this movie, as I wasn't sure if it would just look a little bit silly doing that, but actually it just works so well, as it really does feel like a cartoon has come to life, and this character's attributes were really, really well depicted from Amy Adams' performance, in terms of making her really innocent, making her really delicate, making her really lovable as well. And the animators saw her depiction in live action and then actually based this on what the animated version of her character would be like, So I just feel like it worked so well. Next up we have Patrick Dempsey playing a character called Robert, and I absolutely love the fact that they made him a cynical divorce attorney. So he quite literally is the opposite to Gazelle's kind of positive outlook on everything and just looking at everything with rose-tinted glasses, whereas Patrick Dempsey's Robert character just couldn't be anything further from that reality. I wish that they would have pushed that aspect of their relationship a little bit more, as there definitely was conflict between the two of these different views of life, but I feel like Robert really quickly got over that and was just really mesmerized by Gazelle, but I just wish we would have seen a little bit more from their different perspectives. But that being said, Patrick Dempsey is such a brilliant actor, so he really did make it believable whatever he was doing. Next up we have James Marsden, who is also so good as Prince Edward. James Marsden is such a phenomenal comedic actor, so you really do feel like he must have absolutely loved this part, as he just hams it up, camps it up so much, and you really do feel like he is a bit of a dopey prince, and he really is the brunt of a lot of the jokes in this film. And I actually really do feel bad for this guy, as he didn't really do anything wrong in this movie apart from falling in love with Gazelle, wanted to chase after her like a real prince would do, and then just got his heart broken. And I really do feel like they definitely could have done so much more with the Prince Edward character, especially as James Marsden is such an accomplished actor, so hopefully we'll get to see some of this happening in the sequel. Similarly, the voice in Frozen, Idina Menzel playing Nancy in this film, definitely could have and should have done so much more in this film. A typical secondary character who had so many more layers than they really explored in this film, but she kind of was just replaced immediately by Robert with Gazelle, and then she kind of just had to deal with that, but she definitely could have done so much more. But I do think it's pretty clever what they do with this character right at the end, and of course she then becomes the voice in Frozen. Now I'm going to sound like a true broken record, but next up we have Timothy Spall playing Nathaniel, and I absolutely love this character. I feel like he was a true threatening guy in terms of really splitting the two of them up, in terms of poisoning Gazelle and just being the evil queen's little mastermind and just doing everything to try to impress her. That, I think, is a really interesting concept in terms of all of the mental health aspects of this character, just constantly wanted to impress this queen, but she is always abusing him and using him. So like I keep saying, all of these secondary characters definitely could have done more, but Timothy Spall definitely does what he does best and just really played this character in a really comedic way absolutely fantastically. We've also got Susan Sarandon playing the evil queen Nerissa really well. You can tell that she is doing all of this evil barbaric stuff as she wants to protect her claim to the throne, and so will do anything to prevent Prince Edward from marrying Gazelle and just wants to ruin Gazelle's life. Like I said, they definitely could have had a much stronger final act with this movie, but I do think she was a really good evil queen figure. And of course we have Pip, who I feel like is such a brilliant animal support type character and really does mirror all of the other animal supporting characters from a princess point of view. I do feel like this character just emotes physically so well, despite the fact that he wasn't able to speak in live action. So I feel like they worked that into the character and into the live action space really well. And so from a casting character's point of view, I have to say Enchanted was absolutely incredible. So from a visuals perspective, Enchanted looked so good. It kind of had a blend of a lot of different animation types. So for example, it had the classic Disney animation, which really did make you feel like you've traveled all the way back to the past and you are watching one of those classic Disney animated films. And it also had modern computer CGI animation with all of the evil dragon stuff towards the end of this movie. And then of course it had really brilliant live action sequences as well. And it's really surprising that this film is almost 20 years old, but still looks really good, which is a true testament from all of the animation cinematography spectacles in this movie. And on that point, all of the musical numbers in this film look really good. I do feel like it's really surprising that actually a couple of audience sequences in this movie were real life people, as they were obviously filming in New York City. And I just feel like they brought New York City out in such an incredible way. And it was just so believable, just the fact that all of these things were happening from an animation point of view, being chucked into live action just so well. And so from a visuals perspective, Enchanted was actually really successful. So from a comparisons point of view, loads of movies now kind of do a bit of a blend of animation and live action, but I have to say Enchanted definitely is one of the stronger ones. So for example, you definitely can compare it to Roger Rabbit and to Detective Pikachu, and I would say this movie is pretty much on par with a lot of the other live action films, for example Into the Woods and Maleficent, but I would say it's a lot stronger than some of the other ones, for example Pinocchio, Dumbo, Mary Poppins and Mirror Mirror. So from a comparisons perspective, Enchanted is actually really strong. So overall, I'm sure you can tell, I really enjoyed Enchanted. I was a little bit apprehensive going into this film, but I was really pleasantly surprised as it was a really enjoyable journey. I feel like it was a really funny film, definitely one for all ages, and just had that Disney magic in there really well, and it felt both nostalgic as well as really modern and humorous. I feel like they got the perfect blend in there. They definitely could have done a lot more with all of their supporting characters and could have had a much stronger final act, but that being said, I have to say this movie was really brilliant, and I cannot wait to see what they're going to be doing in the sequel, Disenchanted. But as far as this film is concerned, I have to give it a solid 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of Enchanted, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.